Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Growing Happy Babies Birthworkers interview series. In this podcast directory, I make sure that you have the easiest possible time deciding which wonderful birth supporter is right for inviting into your family's journey. All the potential members of your essential prenatal and postpartum village are assembled right here in the Growing Happy Babies directory. Doulas, midwives, prenatal and infant body workers, lactation consultants, and so much more. I'm Adina Kopinski, board-certified lactation consultant and fellow mom. Together, we transition more easily into motherhood. Let's grow some happy babies together. Hello, everyone. Welcome again. Today, we are talking to Elana Mizrahi. She is a doula, but primarily she works in her clinic, and she's going to tell us about the multitude of tools she uses to help women who are wanting to get pregnant, already pregnant, postpartum. And I want Elana to tell us all about it. So hi, Elana.
Hi, thank you, Adina. I think I'm going to do is I'm going to start a little bit telling you even why I do what I do, because and then I'll explain sort of what it is that I do. My husband and I had a journey, a fertility journey. We did many different types of medical treatments in order to try to conceive, and it was a process over a few years. And then we came to Israel, and when we came to Israel, I thought that it would be like this magical, that then I would just become pregnant because I'm stepping in the Holy Land. Mm-hmm. So that didn't happen. Another year went by, and we did another treatment, and it didn't work. And then I got to a point of like total relinquishing, which is actually, I use this in my clinic a lot, is this concept of we try so hard to control. And I feel that actually what opens us up more is when, in all areas in our life, but especially in conception, in pregnancy, in birth, and the postpartum, is when you just relinquish. And the moment I was able to say, like, okay, God, it's you, it's not me, and it's going to be, if it's going to be because you want it to be and not because of my wants, that in itself actually was its own salvation, if that makes sense. And I think it's like a really big key, because like, then I'll explain in a second. But then we started doing we went into other friends said, why don't you try other stuff? Like not necessarily the medical. And I was like, you know what, maybe it won't help us, but maybe it won't hurt us either. So we actually really, we revamped our diet. We started doing herbs, all kinds of different types of modalities. And lo and behold, I conceived with my oldest. And I was just, Adina, on such a high. I had such a beautiful pregnancy. I was every grateful sign, every, throwing up, every uncomfortable, every pain to me was just like, Elana, it's real. Like I did like 5 pregnancy tests, you know what I mean? Like it's real. And my only let's say goal in birth was to be happy. Like all of the, I was just like, I just want to be connected, and I want to be besimcha. And every time, like, actually, I would talk to a doula. I even had some doulas tell me, like, that's your goal. Like, I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Epidural, not epidural, like all those things I don't care about. I just want to be besimcha. And I didn't pick a doula that, because I felt like, no. So I did, but I didn't pick anyone who didn't believe in that and in believing in me, that's just what I wanted, which is another thing that I very much believe that the practitioner, the doula, the support system, she's there to support the client, not to support her own personal preferences and beliefs. So, so even though I might feel like this is like a great thing for you, I always come in saying like, I want to hear you, like you tell me first, and, I can suggest things to you, so that was my really, and I actually ended up having a gorgeous birth. I arrived by myself with my husband in the ambulance, like fully ready to give birth at first birth, on Shvi Pesach, and it was Shabbat, and it's 20 years ago. And it was such a beautiful birth. But although when I arrived, I didn't have any like female support. And I was like, oh God, I really wish I had someone with me, because as wonderful as my husband was, he wasn't a woman, and he couldn't help me the way I need to be held and helped. So after I had my baby, which was just life-changing in all sense of the world, 2 things happened. I turned to my husband, I said, I want to do this. I just want to help women. Like it became a passion for me. I really believe it was a mission. It was a shlichut. If I went through something, I have to then go and help. And number 2 is I didn't realize how much, like the postpartum also, I just grew up, like my mother nursed me till I was, I think, 3. And I had a fantasy that all you do is like, you just have a baby and you'll know how to nurse. It was the same fantasy of thinking that you get married and you conceive. So I didn't realize how hard it was. Thank God my mother did tell me, like, stick it out. Like, she'd said, just try, like, stick it out. And I hired a lactation consultant. I had like three. And after a lot of, then Baruch Hashem, it was beautiful and natural, but it took a while to get there.
Hmm.
I'm so, like, I feel so blessed. I have six children. All came through natural means. I say natural, everything's natural, really. Even, and also medical is natural because it's all with Hashem. But every time something helped me, Adina, I wanted to go learn it. So that's basically my path and how I've kept learning different modalities because I've really been helped by them. And then I would go out and learn them. Also, I nursed each of my babies to at least two. My last one, I was almost 44 when I had him, and I nursed 3 years. Like it was like my goodbye. And I'm so passionate. Like I can't explain to me. Like when a woman comes into my office, I literally feel like I want to stand up for her because I feel like she's a Sefer Torah. Like she's a holy soul carrying another holy soul. It's mind-boggling to me. And the fact that if I could be part of anyone's process, whether it's conception, whether it's, during the pregnancy, the birth, the postpartum, to make this more of a connective experience, more of a experience that's, supportive experience. I want to say a more beautiful experience. It's already beautiful, but that's sort of like what I feel is a shlichut for me. So I have women who come to me for lots of reasons, even not married, that let's say they just have irregular menstrual cycles and they, the whole range of gamut of, I would say, women's health, but I really concentrate a lot on fertility. Is my passion, how I got into it. Then I went into pregnancy because then that became a passion for me. So I work a lot. I do a lot of actually body work, different modalities of body work, whether it's reflexology and different abdominal massages. I do a lot of different body work, acupressure and healing, that's in a physical way. And then also like holistically, I'm always trying to see the woman as a whole picture. So like what's going on? What is she eating? What supplements is she taking? What's her diet? Is she sleeping? Is someone taking care of her? The postpartum, I worked many years for nonprofit in postpartum depression with reflexology and massage therapy. And also, it's a therapeutic process. It's for me, it's always combining the mind, the body, and the neshama. Like that's my mind, body, and neshama. And to realize that I have a beautiful woman in front of me. And like when she's healthy and strong, I really believe the whole household is going to be healthy and strong.
Hmm.
So I do a lot. It happens to be I get a lot of sent my way, also natural inductions. I do a lot of that. And what I mean by that is it's not that I'm inducing. I just try to help the body get ready, to help the baby get into a good position and just help the woman. It's like if she's ready, it's like her natural, kick it into process, so to speak. Um, and things that come postpartum, whether it's for the emotions, the hormones, the spotting, the bleeding. I do a lot of work with that. Again, it's like it's a it's a combination of things usually.
Yeah.
So I also find that, on an emotional level, that everything is connected. So if a woman's feeling good physically, usually that affects her emotions, and if she, like, vice versa. So
Yeah.
usually there's a lot of, things that are going back and forth. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's a big. I feel so honored. Like I love what I do. I think what I always bring is I hope I bring a piece of myself, like really my neshama into the tipul, into the treatment, that I realize like I have a beautiful woman in front of me and she's going through something, and it should only be good things, but it's a process. It's not easy, the whole process to me, it was so thrown off because beforehand, everything that like if I worked for it, I could get it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm very smart, I have very high degrees. I always succeeded. Like, okay, you put in effort, you'll get it. But when it came to this whole process of like fertility, or like even like, wait, why isn't my baby coming yet? Or or I had a baby who was a month early, which threw me off because I was supposed to have my beautiful home birth, and
Right.
all of a sudden my waters are breaking. As I'm making a bar mitzvah and it's Pesach, my waters are breaking, and there goes my beautiful home birth. So then again, like I very much tried to show the woman of how we relinquish to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we make the most incredible experience happen within the conditions that we're given.
Yeah.
So I also work inside, corresponding with medical. Like I'm always, it's not just like I believe only in one way. And I'm happy if I feel like a woman needs to be very much, we have to try to understand and hear where she's coming from, and also to see a bigger picture. But for sure, there's a lot of, as you say, achna'ah, there's a lot of like, this is a relinquishing process that we just, Not giving over to a system, giving over to a HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm saying that
Yeah,
that's
yeah, absolutely. Can you tell us the exact modalities that you practice or some sample of them?
yeah. So I do reflexology. Again, combined usually with it's going to be looking at the diet and herbs. So depending on what the person's come through me, it's reflexology. I do actually was able to bring it to Israel. I brought it to Israel 14 years ago as Arvigo. They changed it now. It's called Sabato, but I was
Yeah.
the one who actually brought it over from America. And I also studied um under Rosita Arvigo, like special prenatal the prenatal massage,
Hmm.
um, which very much helps with, there's a lot of things that massage helps with in pregnancy. It helps with circulation, sciatica. It helps with getting the baby into a better position. Like not, it's not you actually manipulate or maneuver the baby, but when you relax the broad ligaments and the area and the lower back isn't congested, it's not tight. Usually the baby will automatically get into a good position.
Hmm.
There's also just many things that like snippets. Let's say if I were to take also spinning babies and combine it with the massage, like just it's a little bit of a salad, also depending on what the woman is coming to, acupressure points. I do a little I feel like what the woman is needing, whether also it's cranial sacral therapy, like whatever the woman is, I feel like her body is needing. I try to but I really think that anything, I know it sounds so random, but like I don't think one method is better than another. It's just sometimes different. Like I'll tell you, I very much actually connected to acupuncture. I mean, yes, with needles, I actually enjoyed it. But when I got to a certain point in my treatments of doing so many needles, even though I studied it, I was like something like, I'm like, I can't do this. Like, so sometimes also a practitioner based on her or based, so I'll send to somebody else. But like I did study it and I just like I can't do needling. I also studied Sujuk and I was like, for me, it wasn't my it brought up too many things, even though I myself was a receiving end felt like, wow, this is really cool. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of times the practitioner herself experiences something,
Yeah.
and most of the things is just because I feel like, oh, this really helped me. I connected to it, and so I want to
Hmm.
use it. But I
Yeah.
think that there are a lot of different beautiful ways of helping somebody.
Yeah. Can you tell us a particular story of someone that you helped, anonymous, of course, but just something where the process with you, how it played out and what happened?
I'll tell you, I have like a common theme also in my stories where I feel like there's a certain relinquishing of the woman that comes. I had a beautiful experience where I was able to help a couple that they were 9 years married without children. Then after coming, like they started coming to me on by the fifth month they were pregnant. So what
Mhm.
was so special about it is then I was her doula. And that experience of sharing with that, from I would say like from start to fin, from the start to that moment it was such an enormous, incredible. But what was also so fascinating for me, Adina, which I want to explain to most people, is they don't realize that you could wait a long time for something and then be knocked off your feet by nausea, and you're like, wait a minute, like I wanted this. And yet sometimes the pregnancies are really challenging. So like actually also just like normalizing. A lot of my treatments are normalizing a situation and just feeling, I know it's really hard. It's part of pregnancy. Um, I've had a very sad but beautiful moments also of, let's say, a woman who had a C-section that was very, I had one time a woman who had a C-section. She had 7 children, and in her last C-section, they had to take out her womb. Like it was an emergency where they took out her womb. And it was a very powerful treatment because it was one of thanking the area, like thanking the womb, even though it wasn't there anymore, and thanking the 7 children that were able to be brought into. I'm saying thanking the scar, like we worked on the scar tissue and what the scar represented, that she was able to carry 7 children and also the dreams of wanting more. Like sometimes a treatment isn't necessarily happy, like I tell you, I could say statistically 95% of the women who come in needing a natural induction, they really within 24 hours they're starting labor, which is like, wow, that's amazing. But that's not even what for me is the powerful thing, because that's just Hashem. I mean, it's all Hashem. But that was just like I happened to be the right person at the right time. But more when I'm able to work with a woman on whatever she's really, to me, this is a very powerful moments of like a moment of accepting for me is been very powerful. Like actually, I know it's not so happy. It's not necessarily a happy example, but when I think a woman is looking for connection, and healing, like it's very meaningful, or just also an acceptance of just this last week. I had a woman who came to me, she had a breech baby, the baby was breech. And like my T-pool actually, as I'm doing, and I'm trying to work on like, loosening the bar ligaments, so the baby will go into a good position. I'm working out also with flexology. I'm telling her, you're going to be okay no matter what the situation is. Like, and so for me that it's true. Like when she went the next day to the ultrasound, the baby had flipped, but it wasn't even the highlight. I'm saying that just again, the highlight is this woman walking out of the office feeling like I can handle, even if the baby's going to be breached, like I'll handle it, like I'll handle the ipuch, I'll handle the next thing that's coming to my way. For me, I feel like it's very, that's huge. Like, and I mean, handle on a technical way, like what are we going to do? Like, what's the next step? Like also when, in labors, if they don't, that next step, okay, what are we going to do? But also being in the present of being able to be like, okay, I'll be okay right now. Like Hashem is with me and we'll get through this, on a technical way, in an emotional way, and a spiritual way. I'm going to get through this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that, I mean, I think I know what your answer is, but would you say that the work that you do with pregnant women contributes to a safer and an easier labor?
Yes. No, but let me explain why.
Hmm.
I always say this to women also that labor is 95% in your head.
Hmm.
So I can never say to you, like, I'm glad you didn't ask the question of quicker.
Mm.
Because I'm like, quick doesn't mean good necessarily. I've had a lot of women come to me with very traumatic, very quick labors. And I've been on so many labors that were very long, but beautiful. I mean, like one was singing, she was davening, she was lying, she was just like resting, whatever. It wasn't bad. It was just, so the long and the short, I'm so happy you didn't ask me. Although I will say that I feel that again, it's not like a script or a formula. Like I hate when people think, oh, if you do this, you're pregnant, your labor will be in 8 hours. No. However, I will say that when you do a effort and it's in a good position, usually the labors are shorter. It just
Hmm.
happens to be because the positioning is good. When the woman is more relaxed, I find that her labors are a much better outcome, which we know on a hormonal way is that if I'm calm, I always explain this to women, it's 95% in your head. If you're stressed out, you're going to produce the fight flight hormones. Your body's going to tense up, you're going to get adrenaline, you're going to cortisol. However, the more relaxed you are, which is easy for me to say, but just relaxing the actual physical body, infusing the woman with amuna and connection, telling her that, it's okay. Like it's not a race and it's not, I always say it's b'sha'a tova, not mukdam and not meuchal. We just say at the right time, then she's going to produce the feel good hormones also. She'll produce her body, will produce more endorphins. She'll produce, oxytocin. She'll produce the hormones that will help her to open up. And as far as safer birth, what do you mean by that? Like that, what do you mean by safer? Because I feel there's two aspects. One, a woman has to feel like she's being responsible. She does. Like, and I'm always like error on being responsible, whatever you feel that means.
Hmm.
Like, I think a woman has to be empowered that she makes a choice and she's okay with it also. Because a lot of times, so it's not that I'm being pushed into something, forced into something. I'm making a choice based on the information, the facts that I have in front of me, based on taking responsibility for my birth, that these are very empowering, I think usually lead to safer choices. And what I also try to, which I think has helped with safer labors, is I've tried to explain to women the importance of asking questions. So it's not to say that even you need the answers, but when you ask questions to medical, I feel like to the medical staff, they step up a plate to responsibility. So then it is safer usually because they realize that they have to give you an answer. So like if I'm always like, if there's some kind of intervention, I'm not saying not to do it, but just ask. A lot of women are so intimidated. They feel so vulnerable. They don't even ask the question. They feel like it's one thing after another. They didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
So when the moment I always tell the husbands also ask, just say, even if you have no medical history knowledge, just say, well, do we, or can we wait? Even those kinds of questions. Is it really necessary now? Like, how will that help? These small questions are, I think, huge ways in ensuring that the woman is being taken care of, that she's got proper care, and that she's going to have a safer, healthier outcome.
Let I want to tell everyone listening to just write that down because that was really good advice. Just
Yeah.
just ask a question because
Small question. And again, you don't have to be the
yeah,
medical. I'm not telling you to
yeah, it's
then
not
say,
combative. It's not an
It's,
argument. It's
yeah,
not combative. It's just
no, not
why
combative.
now? What are we looking for? How much time do we have?
Yeah, how
And
can this help? Is there any way? Do we need to do it? Yeah, and it always coming. I always say, always come in with like, we're a team here. I'm not trying to fight you. I've never found that. I've been a doula for 17 years. I've never ever gone into a hospital and fought with the staff, nor have I encouraged parents to do so because first of all, they're trying the best they can. They also, I look at it as I give people like the benefit of the doubt. And I'm saying every staff member is trying the best that they can, that God willing, to have, a healthy mommy and a healthy baby. Now, there is a protocol and there are certain, you know, just being on a, shift is something that's also exhausting that you're going to leave or you're there like all these conditions that sometimes maybe as the staff makes decisions based more on just the flow and then forgets like this is an individual person. So that's where we have to step up our voice and be like, wait a minute, it's just want to check in with you. We're on a team together. We both want the same outcome, healthy, happy mommy, baby. And, but just like, is this really necessary or can this wait? In a very like nice voice,
Mhm.
Um, and I find that that's our achdut is always a koach. Like this is Bezat Hashem what we need now with all of us and in all areas is we want to go on the koach of achdut.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Collaborative care is the best kind of care.
yeah.
What's something that you wish women knew about their bodies or their babies in the postpartum period?
I wish they knew they weren't balls, so you don't just bounce back. It's not like you got inflated and you have to deflate. I can't emphasize how much things take time. I think that unfortunately we have a society nowadays that's like not normal. And the race that we're running, I tell couples, I do it usually with a couple, because it's not just the woman. I need the husband to hear this too, so he can be supportive of this. It's no, I tell them both, you guys, you're going to be both exhausted. Like, meaning like have a reality check because I find that we just try to bounce back to everything, like, and when a woman calls me, she's like, oh, a week later, she's telling me she went schlepping here, there, shopping, or she's with, I'm like, you're crazy. Don't think I think you're a hero. Because you know what? I actually don't. I think you're an idiot who's gonna crash in 6 months, God forbid. Like I've had too many women expectations which are not normal, and no one knows what normal is anymore. But I'm gonna give you a little cute story. My mother-in-law was the most incredible, beautiful woman you've ever met in your life. Okay. And she was a very traditional, she was born in Mexico to Syrian parents. So her Masawit is Syrian, but imagine this like Latin American Syrian culture. She used to tell me that after the time she gave birth, her grandmother would move in for over a month, and for 40 days she was not allowed out of the bed. She had 5 sons. Every Brit Milaz was in front of her in the bedroom. The door was open. It was in their living room, and she saw it through her bedroom door. She wasn't allowed to get out for 40 days. Her grandmother moved in with them, took care of her and the kids that came. She said she would wrap her womb. When she told me to wrap my womb when I had a baby, I thought she was crazy. Now it's like later in my stupidity because I was a young married woman. At that time, I wasn't so. I had been married a long time, but still, I was still young and stupid. And I'm like, yeah, my mother-in-law. What does she know? And then afterwards, I paid money to learn the very thing that my mother-in-law told me about how you have to rest, wrap your stomach. Like, she gave me. I just didn't listen because I was very, a typical daughter-in-law that doesn't listen to their very wise mother-in-law. But like, so Adina, if I could say anything, would be please don't think you have to bounce back. That if you take care of yourself, and your baby, is your avoda right now. And that if you realize that, like, if you do that now, you will feel strong and great, but it takes time. I'm like 9 months in, 9 months out, realistic expectations. When mommies call me and panic that their babies are terrible bit, like they're like, it's my baby's I'm like, your baby's 2 weeks old. It's not supposed to sleep more than 2 hours.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? It wakes up because it has a small belly. It's not because it's colicky, even. Like there's a difference. There's just different parameters of what a lot of times women are getting so nervous over very normal things because they don't have any realistic expectations that
Mhm.
things take time. And ask help. I would say also, I always tell couples, don't be afraid to ask help. Don't ask a million people advice because that's going to get confusing. But one professional person and one good experience, older sister, older sister-in-law, a mother-in-law, like an aunt who has this experience, ask. You can ask and also ask for help because you should not think you know everything because you don't. And each child, I was so surprised how I remember, I don't remember which kid, I think my third one, I don't remember which one it was that like threw me off on how I like felt like, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Like, because all of a sudden you don't have enough hands, or I don't know what the situation was. I don't remember which child it was, but like my point is that we need to explain to women that they just brought a life into this world. And the baby itself doesn't know more than the 9 months that was before it in a very taken care of Gan Eden. And now it's faced into the real world of life. And it just takes time.
Yeah.
That's for me would be my number one thing. Time, patience. You know, there's a norm and then there's an outside the norm, right? Also. So we have to find out what that is, you know. A norm of, you know, you're supposed to be exhausted if you're getting up 2 to 3 hours to nurse a baby. You can't fight that. Like you can't say, so rest, you know what I'm saying? Like the things that we do, we take care of that don't need to be taken care of. You know, we're afraid to ask for help or whatever. We're proud, we're arrogant, you know, all the above, or we just don't understand the importance of what we're doing. You know, I remember crying. It took me like when I had my first child, like I can do like 10 salatim, you know, make a whole entire beautiful shalbis in like 2 hours. All of a sudden I had my first baby. I remember crying. It took me 6 hours to make one salad.
Yeah.
And I had to read, and Baruch Hashem, my husband comes from like a very traditional home, and I say that in a very positive way. I remember crying, and he's like, Ilana, you're taking care of our child. He's like, it's 6 hours of taking care of Avram Nisim, and you made a salad, Baruch Hashem. For me, it was the opposite. I was like crying because it took me 6 hours to make the salad, and oh, that's not the car right now. So, you know, we have to revamp a little bit.
Yeah. The transition from being a person without a child to being a person with a child or a, you know, a couple with a child is one of the most transformational, mind-altering, personality-changing, identity-changing changes that humans go through in their lifetime. And it comes with a lot of this like psychological transition that takes a lot of time to relearn who you are and what you expect out of yourself. It's a really big deal.
And to also realize the importance of what this is. It's not just like, oh, I had a baby. Like I also feel like we've lost the importance of what it is to be parents. Like our children don't have, as you know, we're not growing up. Like my mother-in-law, for example, had there were 4 sisters and 4 brothers. They all lived around each other. There was a support system that was unbelievable. It's like a little tribe. We don't have that anymore. So like you're on your own. It's you and your husband probably with this child. Even if you have many siblings, one's over there, one's here, one's there. You know, myself, I'm not an Ole Chadash anymore because I'm not Chadash. But my husband and I have been raising our children by ourselves for the past. We've been, and that's such because we were Olim. It's because that's life now. So everyone is so busy that if you and your spouse, you know, if the two of you understand that the only parents the children have is you and you're everything to them, I think that also our priorities have to change a little bit. You know, I'm sorry to maybe I'm being a little bit preachy here, but I just feel very strongly like we want healthy families, want healthy children, healthy mommies, healthy abbas. We need to realize that it takes time, patience, it takes hard work and energy, and we have to be putting the kohot into the right place.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we also live in a world that not only fragmented us from our families, but also asks us to go back to work really, really early on when our babies are not ready. And navigating that is a tricky thing. It's not so hard. It's not simple.
Yeah.
So much to go through like that. Thank you so much, Elana. I love how much, you know, how many stories and how much wisdom you interwove into your story of how you help women. And I'm really happy that you were here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Adina. I appreciate it. Thank you. So nice to meet you. Thank you.
Friends, check out the full directory for every interview we've done up until now, housed at my website, growinghappybabies.com. But before you go, I've got one question. Are you the kind of person who learns better by listening or by doing? In my 2-part online prenatal breastfeeding class, the Pocket Prenatal, I blend the basics of breastfeeding with practical hands-on skills. Choose to watch the videos on your computer or phone, read through the transcripts, or pop in an earbud, take a walk, and listen to the audio-only podcast version. After you've dived into the what's and whys of breastfeeding, join part 2, our live hands-on class, where we roll up our sleeves and practice the how of breastfeeding. Experience hand expression, learn how to size yourself for better pumping, practice bottle feeding techniques that improve your baby's sucking skills, and use easy bodywork exercises to help your baby's comfort, sleep, and digestion. You're going to walk out of this class with an essential toolkit for navigating early motherhood. This is the class every baby needs their mother to take. Go to thepocketprenatal.com and use your listener code, Growing Happy Babies, for a special 10% discount. See you there.